Hello, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be making even more resin keycaps. Here's all the stuff that I use. If you want a more in-depth list, you can look at any of my other keycap videos. I go a little bit more into detail as to what I use in those. I started off by attempting to flatten out this bowl so that you guys could have a slightly better peek as to what it is I was doing, but it did not work. Today I'm going to be making an insert key. I kind of wanted this like beach looking keycap, so like you have the sand on the bottom, and then I would 3D print a starfish and then put some like clear bluish resin over the top of it, and it would kind of look like ocean water. It would be multi-layered, which would be pretty cool, but I got mixed results. When I was putting the resin dye in, I wanted to be really careful with the amount that I added, because if I put too much, you wouldn't be able to see through the resin. You wouldn't be able to see through to the starfish. So I made sure only to add 1 drop, and it actually ended up looking really good, so kudos to me, I guess. Here I'm just pouring in that first layer of resin. I only wanted to fill up the molds about halfway so that I could put my 3D print in and then put another layer in on top of that. And I'm starting with the water because the keycap molds are built from the top up, and so the top part I want to be the water, so that's where I'm going to put the blue. To know I needed to find a 3D model of a starfish. Luckily, I just went on to Thingiverse, a really dope website for free 3D models, and I found one very quickly. Just downloaded the file, threw it into my slicing software, and printed it out. I also tried printing out a seashell. I thought it would look kind of cool, but the print didn't end up working. It had a very small area actually touching the build plate, so I didn't really expect it to work. It would have been cool, but it didn't. You can kind of see the prints in this washing machine. They're really small. I guessed the size the first time. It ended up fitting perfectly into the mold, so that's a good thing. After sitting in the curing machine for 2 minutes, they came out looking really nice. I was originally going to wait until the water fully cured and then put the starfish in and then put the sand over the top of the starfish, but then I realized it would kind of look like they were buried in the sand since the very top of the starfish would be the only thing peeking out. So I decided to just try and rest them on top of that water resin while it was still hardening. And luckily it didn't sink to the bottom. I gave it about 2 days to fully cure, and then I decided to add the next layer. I was already really liking how these were turning out. I think I added just the right amount of dye for it to look good, but yeah, it kind of all spiraled out of control from here. We don't need to talk about it. So I mixed up another batch of resin, added a lot more dye so that the sand wouldn't be as see-through as the water was. Of course I had to add glitter, you know how much I love that stuff. But here's kind of where I made the first big mistake. I decided to add these little beads. I thought they would look cool in the water, maybe like, I don't know, some sort of seaweed balls. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, what wasn't exactly the smartest idea. It didn't turn out looking that good, honestly. So I poured in the second layer, and then I put the top of the molds on the bottom. Notice a huge mistake that I made there? I kind of harp on it on every single video. In case you didn't catch it, you're kind of supposed to put resin in the stem part of the keycap first so that they actually form all the way. I didn't do that. I just put it directly onto the mold, and yeah, they ended up not having stems. So here's the big reveal. I had no idea the huge fuck up I had made earlier, so I was going into this incredibly excited, thinking I had finished all my filming for this video and it would look super dope. But nope! Notice how there are no stems on there? Yeah, that's my bad. That was a groan for anybody that was curious. By the way, I still had no idea these had no stems in them. I was still thinking these would turn out super cool and I would have a beach keycap and it would look super dope, but no, realization still hasn't set in. I mean, don't get me wrong, the keycaps still looked pretty dope. I didn't think there was enough blue dye in the water at this time, although now looking back on it, I think it was plenty and I liked the subtle effect. It probably would have been a lot worse if I had added more dye, but for some reason when I redid these, I decided to add 3 drops instead of just the 1, and then they turned out looking even worse. And now we see my dumbass finally noticing that the stems are gone. Time to redo this whole project. Notice how I cast the stems here before I put it in the other half of the molds? Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. So now it's time for the actual reveal, and they still did not look that good. But hey, at least they have stems, so at least we're able to stick them to our keyboard, which I guess is a plus in this case. But as you can see, I added way too much blue dye to the water, which means you can't even really see the starfish underneath. Those little pearl things I was talking about kind of looked like ass, so that wasn't great. And the yellow just doesn't capture that sand look I was going for. So in the end, these keycaps turned out to be pretty ugly, probably my worst keycaps yet. But hey, I needed a video. I spent a decent amount of time on this, so I didn't want to waste all this footage. And here it goes on the actual keyboard. Looks exactly the same off the keyboard. I mean, our keyboard's coming along nicely. Not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna remake this just to make it look a little bit nicer. But yeah, it was a fun project. If you enjoyed this horror show of a video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, you know, all that fun stuff. And check out my other ones, because these other keycaps on this keyboard, the ones that actually look good, also I made on this channel. So yeah, check them out.